up, everybody? Rob Live. We are back in studio. We got a new look. Check it out. Jim, I'm loving it.
It's a lot of work, man, but I love it too.
I'm like the needy partner who's like, we need this and we need that. Beautiful. So this is from the Johnny Carson. This is a set of. Where'd you get it, Jim?
A friend of mine worked at 24, and Faith Sidlow, shout out. So she was a friend of mine, and she works at Fresno State, and she donated a desk. And this used to be for weather. They used to stand behind this little kiosk thing and then stand in front of a green screen. So
yeah,
it's old school, like back in the 80s, 90s.
Awesome.
And now you are using it.
I'm here. Where are my manners? We just have this. Our poor guest is like, okay, is he gonna talk about? Is he gonna reference who's sitting on the couch? This is Yolanda Valdez. Proud, you guys recognize? Thank you, Pearl. Thank you, the audience. Thank you all for being here today. It's a million of them, guys. We can't even fit them on this camera right now. We're gonna be live one day, but I have Yolanda Valdez with me, and I want to just give a quick intro to who you are for me in my life. When I first tried to bring a library to my hometown of London, that was kind of my really first big dream, I would say, that I actually went after. And at the time, there was all these, what I later referenced as literature angels who would just, jump in and help when I needed them. And your group, Leadership Northern Tulare County. Shout out to LNTC. We got the DJ. There it is. You hear that? Your group came out of nowhere, and I always love telling that story of how, like literally the day that we were going to lose this building because we didn't have the funds to move it, you guys called me from one of your meetings and said, hey, we want to grant you a $5,000 contribution to be able to afford to transport that building to London. And I don't know how much I've shared with you since then, but it was kind of one of those moments where you're kind of considering throwing in the towel on something because maybe you're thinking that God has a different path for you. That call that you guys made was like confirmation that I was on the right path. And I remember I was in tears afterwards. Pearl, I don't know if you remember this. My wife Pearl's off to the left here. Do you remember when they called and I was like, you're not going to believe it? Because we were in Santa Clarita still. And Leadership Northern Tulare County, you guys raise money every year through your kind of leadership program. And you guys raise money through the Cinco de Mayo in Dinuba. And then you choose who you're going to give that money to. And you deemed us worthy. And so we had a $5,000 check right then and there. And we were able to save the building. And lo and behold, there's a library in London.
And, I have to tell you, as a committee and longtime standing committee member, the steering committee there in Leadership in Tulare County, we saw this young man who spoke so passionately about this project that he wanted to bring his hometown. And that was a conversation that we had, that this, how can we help this young man make this.
She called me
dream
young
come
twice,
true.
just so you guys know.
Well,
yeah.
think about how many years that's been. You're still a young man.
Thank you.
That? I think that passion is contagious, right? Purpose is contagious. When you articulate it, when you share it, and you explain the big picture and the vision that you have for that project, and you did that so well at that time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So then that project became a reality. You and I remained connected through the years. And this is the beauty of social media, right? It's like you have two super busy individuals, and yet we're still able to keep track of what the other's doing because we can check social media. And so your accomplishments in your career, well documented. And I followed the whole time. And I said, one day we're going to get Yolanda on the show. And so I had a friend of yours last week, Danya Ball.
She's my ride or die girl.
That's exactly right. Did she say that, Jim? And so she's like, you got to get Yolanda in here. I go, Yolanda's on my hit list. And I said, it's got to be the right time. And I said, you know what? It's been years. I don't have her number. And she's like, oh, here you go. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, right?
That was awesome.
And it was funny today because we were at a volleyball, and after volleyball, the parents go out and eat, right? And so we went out to eat, and they were asking me about the show. They're like, "Hey, how do all these people find you and come on your show?" And I said, "No, I stalk them. I stalk them online, social media. Then I bug somebody for their number, and then I just pop up in their text. It's kind of creepy, actually, but
It was actually
It works.
very nice.
it works.
And for someone who is completely an admirer of you and your work and the passion that you have for education and wanting to make a difference with children, I mean, like people gravitate to like people, and so
Yeah,
that was very it was very neat. It felt good that you reached out to me.
Well, thank you. And guess who's next? You know him, Beto.
Oh, Roberto Vaca.
Right?
He's
And we're talking
another
about
one of my
like-minded?
favorite people.
No, so we're going 3 back to back. We're going
that's
Danya,
awesome.
Yolanda, birds of a feather, right?
He will
Flock
do amazing,
together.
and he's
Yeah.
such a positive gentleman that has such a just passion for education as well.
Yeah, and he's another one that I just follow and try to learn from. And so we brought you on the show because, I mean, for many reasons, but what really cemented it for me is I've had multiple conversations with different people in education. And the one thing that I've been trying to do, and I know Jim did this, was ASB. By the way, Jim was an ASB director for many years.
Oh, bless you, child.
Oh,
That
yes.
is quite
It's-
the job.
And I taught.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I taught.
So
yeah.
let me
you
just tell
didn't
you.
have, and you're still married?
Yes, I know, right? Thank you. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you one story because this guy was over the top, right? Because he was like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And I'm like, "Wow. Well, I don't know where you found the time, but wow." So just one example. It's rivalry week, right? And every school, it used to be
We
Danuba.
all have a rivalry.
So in this case, I believe he's at Sierra High School, the Chieftains, and they're playing the Badgers of Yosemite, right? And Jim's like, "Dude, it's rivalry week, and I want to bring it." I'm like, "All right, well, what are you going to do?" So this guy, he brings a real coffin in, and he puts was it a kid or a stuffed animal? Or
Well, we had the those teddies, those bodysuits, those pajamas
Yeah.
of a badger,
Of a badger.
of an actual badger, and we put it in the coffin. Well, going back,
Yeah.
I was dressed up because I was the mascot at Orosi High School, so I dressed up as the badger and fought with our chieftain mascot, and the football boys carried me out, tied me to a pole, and I took off the costume, put that in the coffin, and the boys came back and put it in
was
the
a
middle,
hole.
and they put the tail out of the back.
Oh,
And it stirred up a lot of
how many
issues.
students needed some mental health after
Oh no! It was, it was the
some
was-
counseling?
it was Yosemite's activities director emailed me and said that was very insulting.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so-
Yosemite.
But I'll bet your school just loved
they
it.
were
Went
fired
wild.
up. It was one of the
Oh, my
best rallies that
gosh.
we had. Yeah,
Okay,
They win the game?
yeah,
They
we
win-
did. Yeah, we did.
It worked.
So
But
That's
that's
awesome.
so that's the kind of thing. Folks, we're not condoning bringing a coffin to school. All we're
No,
saying is-
Absolutely not.
No.
But it's a great story.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a great story. But my point being is that he'll go that extra mile, knowing that it's going to set a precedent for what the culture needs to be in a place, right? And so, with that being said, I've heard that about you from different people on multiple occasions, and the one that really hit me was my own school, Dinuba High School. I graduated, right? Class of 91,
Hey.
Emperors. And I have friends still that, went to school and they still live in Dinuba. And when we came back, we moved back about 10 years ago, and we went to a football game. And we're at the football game, Dinuba High. And the first thing, there's these sirens and ambulance. And I'm like, is there emergency? What happened? They're all lined up. And the football team comes out of the locker room with big old DHS flags, and they walk the Green Mile. It's like this big, parade procession just to get to the field. And while they're doing that, the band is playing some college level energy intro. It's this big setup. I said, what happened to my school? We used to have a little paper banner, right? And there'd be the band would be 30 kids, right? It was ever. This was a production. And then afterwards, and then we played a big old school. It was like a Clovis school, or it was somebody that's usually not on our schedule, and we win convincingly. And I said, what happened to my school? And then I sat my friend down, Ralph Cisneros, Mac, shout out to Mac. And I said, hey, Mac, what's happening? Because his son played on the team, and he was a coach. He goes, bro, this Sharton, shout out to Coach Sharton, Coach Wright, all these individuals, who were culture shifters, say. And I said, he goes, but if you really want to pinpoint it, I want to go back to when Yolanda Valdez came to the district and had Lisa and was it Manny
Lucero,
Manny, and that team.
Victor Martinez.
They came in.
We were the dream team.
Yes.
That's what we referred to.
There
the
you
dream
go.
team.
But you came in with a vision and kind of revamped
Absolutely.
that. Now, I want to start there, but we're going to Tarantino it. We're going to go back.
Sure.
I want to start with you as a student. What was Yolanda the student like?
Hey, hang on one second. Yolanda, pull your mic up a little bit towards you.
Okay, sure.
There
Orosi
you go.
High Cardinal,
There
right?
you go.
So, yes, I was the rival of Dinuba Emperors and Orosi High School graduate of 1987.
1987.
Cardinal.
Yeah.
And, I have to tell you, my upbringing as a student at Orosi High School was not very exciting because I was the first generation oldest child in my family. And so I pretty much worked. And I didn't get to participate in any of those fun
Really?
activities.
The extracurriculars?
I worked through the migrant program after school at the district office. And then as a sophomore, I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. And as
The
a, and
Dinuba
then they're in Dinuba, yes.
Yeah.
And then as a result of that, I got this passion about becoming a teacher at middle school. And then by the time I was in high school, I was going to be a principal. That's exactly what I was going to be. And I knew that so wholeheartedly. But the time of high school for me was, I felt like I was too mature for high school. Because I had so many responsibilities at home.
Yeah.
By the time I got home, even after working after school, my job was to make sure there was food on the table, the house was clean, because mom and dad were coming from the fields. There was just a lot of responsibility.
Wow.
But as a result of those experiences, I became a teacher at, 21.
The
an
work ethic was
administrator
set.
at 25.
Really? At 25?
At 25, I was dean of students at Orosi High School, and
What was your first teaching job?
so I worked as a fourth grade teacher at a Jefferson School in Dinuba.
Jefferson.
Yeah, but I have to tell you, as a result of that, I insisted that my children participated in all the activities in school. They were athletes. They were in student government. They were in clubs, because I didn't get that opportunity. And I think there's a lot said in how well-rounded you become when you have those opportunities. But I got to do them as an adult now.
Yeah.
Now, I'm in committees. I'm in
you're in-
organizations. I'm in. But yes,
I'm
that
convinced there's
was
two of you.
really my upbringing. I started teaching, and I continued going to school to get my master's in administration.
Did you go to Fresno State or where?
Fresno State?
Okay.
All of my education was Fresno State.
Bulldogs.
And yes, bleed red. And then, so as soon as I could apply for that administrative job, I went after it, because my ultimate goal was to be a principal.
Wow, so you knew early on.
Very early, and I was able to reach those goals very early. So hence why this is my 11th year as superintendent in Cutler-Orosi.
11th year?
This is my 11th
my
year, going into the 12th
I
year.
didn't. Okay, I was thinking like 3 to 5
so
years.
the superintendents don't last longer than 3 years. So I've far left that mark. And so, but you don't have a choice but to keep going. And I have to tell you, my ultimate goal, or as I became a central office administrator, I thought, okay, I'm going to be a superintendent. I'll be a superintendent here in Cutler-Orosi for a few years, maybe 5-6 years. And then I'm going to move on to a bigger school district. And then I just fell in love with the purpose of coming back home and serving the community that really, really needed me as a leader and the team that I've assembled, right?
Well, I want to talk about the team. Let's start with your first team. Dinuba High School, you become the principal, and you're like, all right, let me assemble the team. What type of person were you looking for when you put your dream team together?
You know, I meet with everyone that comes to work in my organization as a superintendent. And back then it was not anything different. I was looking for people who truly were passionate about service, that servant heart, right?
Yeah.
That's number one. And number two is that service with children, right? That they truly felt they wanted to make a difference and impact students' lives.
Yeah.
And those two things, everything else I could teach them, everything else I could work with them, everything else was not important. But those two things were paramount for me.
What would be
And-
kind of a key question to figure that out? Because interviews are so limited, right?
You know what? You give people scenarios
Yeah.
and you talk to them about who they are and what they do. Here's what I want to say. If they truly are servants at heart,
Yeah.
and if they truly are for children, you're going to see that. You're going to see their trajectory. You're going to see examples of that in their trajectory, right? In how they've served outside of school, what they're doing in their spare time, how passionate they share a story of when they've made impact, a positive impact.
Yeah.
How it makes them feel when those students come back to them and share with them what an impact they made. And as a result, they are these incredible career people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you when you engage people in conversation, their heart comes through. You can't fake that.
So to you, that was more important than the credentials or or how much schooling.
Absolutely. Hey, I've worked with many doctors, and I'm not knocking that doctor degree because
Yeah.
I've worked with incredible people that have their doctorate. But you have to have those core values and that purpose and have a real clear why. And
Yeah.
no credential can give you that.
No,
No
you're
degree
right.
can give you that.
See, you're bringing up my past here, and Pearl, I don't know if you remember this story, but we were in Santa Clarita, and I had just fallen on my butt financially because the housing market had crashed. It was like 2007, 2008, losing my home, my house, everything, and I wanted to get back in education, but I didn't know anyone. So out of nowhere, this high school English position comes up, and I'm like, this is my chance to get in. It's a long shot. And I remember being in the waiting room, and it had come down to me and another guy, and he's sitting where you are, and he has one of those leather things that a lot of college professors wear. And I see his credentials. He's from Cal State Northridge. And he's an English professor, and he's going for the same position I am, right? I'm the only reason I didn't leave the room, because it was down to me and him. The only reason I didn't leave the room is because my family, they were counting on me. We
Yeah.
needed this, but we're losing our house.
You had a stronger purpose.
Yeah, it's a strong one. So I stuck it out. I said, you know what? At the very least, I will get some experience from this, right?
You're going to go down fighting.
Yeah. So he goes in, they interview, and then you know how when you're leaving, that you can hear him laughing. Oh, hey, all right, Tug, right? And so it went well. I was like, oh, they loved him. All right, well, let me just go learn and get better for the next one. And I get in there, and his name was Sal Frias. He's still the principal at Golden Valley High School in Santa Clarita. And Sal's Latino. I think he's from like the Lancaster, Bakersfield area. And we had that kinship, like similar backgrounds, you know. And I said, well, maybe we'll relate. And we get in there, and I was worried what he was going to ask me about my credentials and my experience, you know. And none of his questions were about that. He says, hey, are you willing to coach? I go, where do I sign? I played football, I played soccer, he's like, all right. What about clubs? You want to, right? Do you see what he's getting at? All these things that are service opportunities on the
Absolutely.
campus.
Are you
But
truly a servant?
I wanted to do it. I didn't understand at the time. I'm like, he's not asking me about the other, you know? And then I left, and we had a good vibe, and I left, and I was thinking, well, you know, that went well, but I'm not a Cal State Northridge professor. And I got a call like 2 days later, and we were out, and I did one of those things where, you know how you go somewhere to get your mind off things? We were at this botanical garden, and just having a good time. And I was trying to forget because I didn't want to think about it and stress and whatever. And I got a phone call. Hello? Yeah, it's the Golden Valley High School. are you ready to come on? You ready to start Monday? And I started like tearing up.
Mm-hmm.
I said, how did I get this? And it was because Sal was just like you. He was looking for a servant. And I
Servant.
remember asking the Cal State Northridge guy, not to call him out because I don't know his name or anything, but when I asked him, you're a professor, like, because it's gonna be a pay cut, and he goes, yeah, you know what? I want a shorter commute to work. That was that was why he wanted the job. He never mentioned the kids.
Nope.
And I think that came across in the interview now in retrospect.
And that's exactly. And that conversation was really about seeing if you had a servant heart.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't know
and
that.
if you like kids, because someone who is doing clubs, who is coaching, who is participating in all that, they have to like kids because you're with them so long in those activities, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that that's what he was looking for. And that's exactly what I look for, right?
And that was how you got your team together.
Yes, and it was, Manny Lucero, Lisa Castillo, Victor Martinez.
We're going to talk later about where they ended up.
Yeah, Martin Tovar and myself.
Okay, so you get to Dinuba. Now, this is what I've always wondered, like, how do you know what the plan is to change the culture? Like, how do you know what's going to work? What's going to get them to buy into what you're trying to sell?
You know what? I don't know if we have enough time in this podcast to share the lessons learned from Dinuba High School. I would say that a lot of who I am was the good, the bad, and the ugly that I learned at Dinuba High School.
So it kind of shaped
in
you.
100 years, I was the first woman as principal.
What?
And in 100 years, I was the first Latina.
Oh, that's a double whammy. That's a
Yeah.
lot to take in.
And I could sit here and tell you the struggles and the challenges that I had.
I'm sure your
And-
board meetings were phenomenal.
Well, I was principal, so I wasn't superintendent there in Dinuba.
right.
I was principal. But it really has shaped me in it really, that experience at Dinuba High School made me become relentless,
Yeah.
courageous, and really learned about becoming an instructional leader and being able to identify that whatever you were being told was actually what was happening in the classroom. And there was a lot of activities, a lot of things that I did to really get to the root of what was happening. And I think that once we got, I'm going to tell you that the first couple of years as Dinuba High School principal were very rough, very tough.
'Cause
I
you're
slept
changing-
very little.
Yeah.
I worked really, really hard. But then we got into a groove of understanding exactly what Dinuba High School needed. Dinuba High School needed to have a voice in everything that we did as a team. And prior to that, you get raised in the family that I was sharing with you, right? Why? And it was a command and control type of leadership, right? Because that's who my dad was. You didn't question, you did what you were told.
Because I said
and so
so.
then you become this professional and you said, hey, that worked there. So you become this command and control leader. And so as I share with you what I learned, it was learn. I think my team, and when I say team, all our staff and everybody who worked with me learned a lot, but I learned the most. And where I needed to have a trust and inspire.
So command and control, the trust and inspire.
And I needed to really learn what that whole trust and inspire thing was. And so there was an opportunity to write this grant, and you can pretty much do whatever you wanted to do with the funding.
Yeah.
And I wrote this site-based leadership into this grant. It was a CAP grant. And so everyone that was really fighting me is who I got on this team because they were the powerhouses of the school, right?
Yeah.
So I got them on the team. We talked a lot about where we wanted Dinuba High School to be, or to get to.
Yeah.
It was this belief that I exuded and tried to exude every chance I got that every single one of our students could achieve if they only believed. right?
Yeah.
And through our instructional facilitators, we had Jeff Harris, we have Mr. Emerson, we had Mrs. Aber. We had incredible teachers that really loved kids.
That's so
They
important.
just wanted to see the direction we were going. And once we got on those train tracks and we were all on the train, inside the train, and we were moving, nothing was stopping us.
Was that year 4, year 5?
That was about year 3.
Okay.
That was about year 3. And something that I learned is that every opportunity that we recognize students, teachers needed to be recognized as well.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
And so
for
every
saying that.
so we would come in with the recognition for students, and we'd say, okay, what does that look like for teachers, right?
Yeah.
So out of that came some really neat culture building activities, like the most inspirational teacher.
Yeah.
So the students, as they are seniors, right? The last game, they give their testimonial of who impacted, which teacher, which educator impacted them most.
Yeah.
And everybody in the audience is listening to this. And it is very thoughtful. It is done very, very calculated. Another thing that I brought to the school that, you
that's
talk
still a
about
tradition.
costing you, it's still, everything that I'm telling you is still a tradition. You can go to any game on senior night, and those kids will recognize a teacher.
Wow.
Anyway, and so this other activity that we did, and it was it actually started with one of our legislators, and I remember getting this letter back when I was a middle school principal. Anyway, so again, thinking of how can you recognize staff and all staff, right? Not just teachers, but all staff every time you recognize students. So right about teacher appreciation, I would get on the intercom. I'd give this heartfelt talk to everybody on campus. And I'd say, all of us are here because of this special person. All of us have someone we can thank. All of us, need to share these great feelings we have towards them because they made a difference. And so then I send out it was a special copy paper that said, you make a difference, or you made a difference in my life, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And so at that time, for 45 minutes, everybody in the school is writing to somebody.
Oh.
And it
wow.
could be anybody. It could be their mothers. Like I had some that would write to a teacher in Cutler-Orosi or and we would make sure that these people get these letters.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Then
so
I had a
important.
team of our instructional assistants that would collate, right, all of these letters. And then on that teacher appreciation day, everybody has this yellow manila folder in their box. And that was like candy for teachers
Yeah.
and staff, all staff.
Like Valentine's Day.
It was Valentine's Day. They would so look forward to that yellow manila folder on that day. And in fact, I have to tell you, Mr. Rocha, shout out to you. Mr. Rocha loved getting these letters.
Yeah.
And Mr.
So would
Rocha was
I.
quite
Yeah.
popular. And he would get probably the biggest stack
Like
in
fan
all
mail.
of the school. So one year, Mr. Harris and I decided to pull a prank on him.
You got him.
And that year, I put 3 pieces of paper in his manila envelope.
Oh, man.
And I waited because there was like this lunch bunch in Mr. Harris's class.
Yeah.
And this is so funny. And Mr. Harris, I went over to visit Mr. Harris right after lunch and said, Mr. Harris, how's Mr. Rocha doing? Oh my God, he is just, he's almost sobbing. He's walking around and he's not even saying anything. We're all bragging about our letters and he wouldn't say a thing when he was always the first one. I'm like, should we let him off the hook?
Oh,
Let him
man.
off the hook. I
That's-
said, okay, I'm gonna come get you. I'm gonna come get you this afternoon. I said, and we'll interrupt his class and hand him the big envelope. And so that's exactly what we did with Mr. Rocha.
Oh,
But it
man.
was so hilarious.
What was his
because-
reaction?
Oh, he started laughing. he really felt bad. He says, I started to think, what did I do? How come the kids didn't recognize me this year?
I hold the record.
Anyway, but see, that is something that doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
You as the leader develop conditions for that to happen. And the conditions were that I'd share a heartfelt story over the intercom. Everybody heard it. And then everybody was required to write to somebody.
Yeah.
And then you have to make sure that you bring them all in and you collate them carefully, because you don't want anybody to get a negative letter, right? And I'm not going to lie, they're teenagers, right? We had a handful.
Yeah.
We made sure that those people didn't get it. But you know the beauty of that? Custodians got recognized, food service people, like one that, in fact, I use it in one of my presentations of how people make a difference. This one gal thanked our food service, one of our food service gals. He says, every day I'm coming in late. And I don't, I don't have breakfast, and I swing by the cafeteria. And even though it is already a minute after, 2 minutes after the bell has rang, you see that I am hungry and you feed me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for recognizing that I need breakfast in the morning and giving it to me.
Wow.
How incredible is that?
Yeah.
Right? And so anyway, so just stuff like that was culture changing.
Well, I'm going to bring up a big one that you did, because you've done so much, you probably don't remember all of them, but this one got talked about a lot. But right before I do that, I want to bring this up. This idea that we have to recognize the teachers as much as the students. Man, you just hit it nail on the head, and I'll tell you why. I have I'm getting into public speaking now, and I'm trying to build that up, and so I have different messages. And one of the messages started with a conversation I had with a friend at lunch. You have your work buddy, friends and stuff. So this happened a while back. But anyway, I was talking to this person, and out of the blue, he says, I don't know what I'm going to have in common with my partner once the kids are gone. And it was like everything for the kids, and that's how sometimes principals and they think, well, everything has to be for the kids, right? And even it's perfect that you're here today, because Pearl really taught me that. It's like, hey, look, we still got to have date night. We still have to keep this going, because there will be a day when the kids will move out, and there'll be nothing left if we don't continue to build this partnership, this bond, right? And schools are a lot like that, where some principals are like, hey, this is all about the kids. You're chopped liver and you do what you do. You're getting paid anyway, right? We don't need to recognize you. You've got your paycheck. That's your recognition. Now go serve. And it doesn't work, because we're still human beings, right? We want to be recognized. And so kind of like a good marriage is you recognize the person who is helping you navigate life, helping you raise your children. You recognize them. Instead of like, well, that's your job. You're a mom, so you need to, all right?
But it's as a leader of a school or an organization, our work is done through all of that staff. That custodian, that teacher, that IA, that food service person, right? And so finding ways that we can recognize that good work is important.
And like you said too, not the teachers, the staff.
It's
because
all of them.
I've talked to some of the instructional support staff that we have, and sometimes they feel a little bit resentful in the past that they weren't invited to certain things. And so whenever I do, because
that's a big mistake.
Well, I'm the self-appointed social guy, right? And so I remember that conversation. This was about 10 years ago, and I remembered it. I said, I'm not going to do any teacher stuff. It's going to be staff. And so every event that we put on, everyone who's got on the email, right, from custodians, they're all invited to what we do. Now, some of them can't show up because of the nature of their job.
Sure.
But they're all invited, and I think it goes a long way, right?
And I used to, as a high school principal, all staff was invited to my house, and we would have.
See, that's
kind of a beginning of the year. I live out in the country, so we were able to accommodate beginning of the year kind of kickoff or end of the year
that's
close
special
off. And that's a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, but a lot of fun. Yes.
But it also says, hey, my superintendent, I know her on a personal level. Like, she's invited me to her home. Now, again, and this is of no fault to anybody, but this happens. But sometimes you're in a district, and only certain people are invited to the certain houses, and then you hear about these parties. Like, wait, I didn't get the invite. I guess I'm not on that level.
When you said it earlier too, Robert, when your kids, our kids move on, you kind of feel like, well, what are we going to do as long as we continue the same thing? Those same kids that we have in our own household are the ones that we have on campus. So when those kids that we have those relationships with leave, and now a new group comes in, you have to bond with them. And that bond sometimes is hard to establish like you had before. So then your emotions go. So if the support is not there from the staff, you're always going to be working with the staff. So I've had issues where I've had favorite years. I've had really bad years. And so you lean on the staff, but then all of a sudden staff leaves, turnover, and all that stuff. And then it's really hard to find that rhythm again of knowing, like I want to be honest, the first couple of years of me being hired at Golden Valley, it was phenomenal. But then the turnover, people move up, people move away, and now you got to get close to different people, and sometimes that closeness is not there anymore. So I'm actually leaning more on the children and around to say, hey, these are the kids I could always depend on, having fun with and learning. The light bulbs go off and everything. And go back to what you said too about your letters. I think that's a key factor at every school that they should look at, with the fact that if Mr. Who'd you say had the many envelopes?
Mr. Rocha.
Is he still there? Mr. Rocha's still there?
He is. He's a fabulous.
Shout out to Mr. Rocha.
Teacher.
So
yes,
with
shout
Mr.
out.
Rocha getting that many letters, me as another employee at that school would think, how can I get that many letters?
And that's exactly what would happen. They saw
Step up your game.
Yeah.
that exactly. And you didn't even have to say a word, and that's exactly the way things worked out.
So we do the same thing, not with letters. We do roses for graduation.
Oh.
So the kids get to give a rose if they have a certain GPA to the staff member, even in the community. We don't get the letters, but we would always bet. I bet you Ferry's going to get 6 this year, because he had 8 last year, and I don't know. I think so and so was going to get this many. So we would have our own little bets on who's going to have the more roses at the end of the day. Yeah, I got 2 of them last year. Yeah, so I was happy.
Awesome.
So,
That's
but
awesome.
So, but it makes you want to work harder.
It does, and it's all about connections. It's all about connections. We just had in Cutler-Orosi, we had our senior voice session where we have about 35, 40 seniors, all different kinds of kids, come in and sit in tables with our board members and our administrators. And we have some set questions where they tell us what went well, what didn't go well, and how do they think we should fix it. And they really reiterated over and over just the importance of that teacher connection, that importance of the teachers who cared, the teachers who showed us, who asked us, who went that extra mile to ensure that we learned it. And they are very observant, and they know.
They know.
And the counselors who go above and beyond, who make an effort to make that connection. Students are very astute about that.
Yeah, we underestimate them. Now, okay, that feeds perfectly into what I was going to share about Yolanda next. And here's the thing. And you're really good at the non-verbal, indirect message. It tends to resonate better because it allows people to take it in as they will, right? Instead of saying, you're going to this and you're going to that. It's like, no, well, let me leave some cues as to what direction I want you to go. Here's one. Facilities on a school campus are a nonverbal message to the students that we value them. You know what I'm going to say next? So when my nephews transferred from Santa Clarita over to Dinuba High, they wanted to play football for Dinuba High because you guys had a great program. They were like, Uncle Rob, the weight room is Uncle Rob. The weight room looks like a 24-hour fitness at Dinuba High. And I was like, Mac, where are you guys getting all this money? He says, well, back in the day, they wrote some grants. And so you guys, as a program, you started investing in your facilities at Dinuba High and now at Orosi. Was that part of the big plan too?
So in part of culture changing, it's the physical environment, the internal environment, the relationships. All of that goes hand in hand. And I'm a firm believer that if students attend school in a well-kept place, a place that shows pride, they're going to behave better. They're going to appreciate their conditions, and they're going to be better and be more prideful about themselves and their education that they're receiving at that organization. And that was that's my core belief, and that's what we did at Dinuba High School, and Cutler-Orosi no different.
Well, I was going to say the scoreboard at Cutler-Orosi looks like a college.
It is, and we have movie nights out there. And
have you seen it?
You haven't seen our aquatic complex. It's
No, I haven't
coming
seen
online
that.
here in a couple of months.
Oh, my God.
But at Dinuba High School, it was about communicating. As the principal of Dinuba High School, communicating to my district level administration our needs. For example, our softball fields. You were in the time where our girls used to go all the way to Delgado Park, walk through the barrio of Dinuba.
I never knew where they played.
and play at Delgado Park because we didn't have fields.
Wow.
And we had a few incidents with our young ladies, and I took a bunch of parents to speak to the board. And I said, this is not acceptable. Not acceptable that our girls have to walk through all of this to get to their practices and play their games there. And as a result, we brought over the softball fields.
My daughter played Dinuba Tribes for many years.
There you go.
And where do we practice, Pearl? Those beautiful softball fields right there at Dinuba High.
Yes. And so, I can speak upon the aquatic complex and, that weight room. We expect D1 work. Well, we have to give them D1 conditions, right? And I really have to thank Martin Tovar. Martin, you talk about how the athletic program at Dinuba High School got to where it was at.
Yeah.
I told you at the beginning before we started, I surround myself with incredibly passionate and hardworking people. And Martin Tovar was one of them. And he really felt that we needed to play up. In everything we did, we needed to play up. That if we played up, our kids were going to show up, right?
Play up to show up.
And so there were some times where I just wanted to buck them on that one. Like going all the way to Tuscadero and losing our shirts and having to drive back. And back then I was a mom of a football player as well. So that was even harder. But, that's the way the program got to where it's at.
You have to take your lumps.
Is that you really played up. The standard was higher than the expectation. And the Dinuba students in the Dinuba community just stepped up. And that just gave us more wind underneath our wings, right?
Yeah.
And so we just kept pushing the envelope in everything that we did.
Isn't that the same when you go and take kids to go to colleges?
That's
they look
it.
at like the beautiful campus, the USC environment.
Absolutely.
They're not going to want to go to. I mean, look at COS has turned itself into a beautiful facility now.
Yeah.
Reedley's starting to up the game now.
And look at our Cutler-Orosi college acceptance. Our Cutler-Orosi college acceptance rivals any huge district. In fact, surpasses it. Why is that? Because we have them going every which way to envision themselves of where they can be and who they could be.
Well, it says a lot. Sorry, it says a lot because a lot of people, when we grew up, they didn't want to go to Fresno because it was a bigger city. It's not because they were used to the standards we were already living in. How would I be accepted to go to universities, those big, huge schools? And so they would lower their standard. Oh, mom and dad's not going to let me go because I got to help with the fields or whatever. So for them to exceed that's huge.
It's incredible. For a small town of Cutler-Orosi, I mean, check this out. We have Eddie Valero as a county supervisor. We have Erica Gonzalez as assistant DA. We have doctors and lawyers.
Oh, these are Orosi
These
alumni.
are all Orosi people.
Yeah.
Right? We were talking about, Jim, all the educators that rose to that charge, to
Come
that,
back, and come back.
and have come back.
Show producer.
Yeah, there you go. And so it really is about believing that you can be there and showing students all the different ways they can achieve their dreams. And some of them are choosing, to go, like in this senior voice that we just had a couple of days ago. One of our students says, I want to be a mechanic. And I said, okay, so what have you been doing to get there? Right? Oh, I took advantage of all of the ag shop classes, and I'm heading over to Wheatley College and learn mechanics because that's what I want to do. All right. You go for it, right? Because our messaging is not just a four-year college. Our messaging is that you're going to have to support yourself, baby. So you're going to have to learn a skill. Yeah. Who are you going to be? What's your skill going to be? Yeah. Right? And now with TikTok and all of this, they want to be entrepreneurs. Well, then we need to show them how to be entrepreneurs. Yeah. We need to show them how to do business plans. We need to show them how to do all of this so they're very successful entrepreneurs.
Yeah, no, I think they need to see some of their educators on social media.
Yes.
I had to do that. I wanted to talk a little bit about where it started, because you had told me off camera when you first got to Orosi. Can you share those numbers again? Didn't you say you guys were the bottom of California?
So that was back in the CST time, right?
Yeah.
And back in the CS time, I always call it the tale of two cities. And the way we approach that era of CSTs, high school exit exam, and all of that in the community at Dinuba High School was using that instructional leadership team, right? Okay, guys, from now on, this point on, all kids have to pass a high school exit exam. What are you shop teachers going to become? Are you going to become remedial teachers and not teach welding and not teach drafting and not teach? Or are we all going to figure this out, right? And so the way that was tackled at Dinuba High School was that as a team, everybody came on board to improve the skill sets to pass a high school exit exam, right? Yeah. So every elective teacher chose either math or ELA. And then we taught them the standards and the skills that the students needed to have or know in order to pass a high school exit exam. And so for the first 15 minutes of the 80-minute period, they taught them math. They taught them how to write the essay. Okay. Right? The essay that they need. They taught them the language. And so everybody came on board, and we came up with a very systematic system of a very calculated system for students to be exposed to what they were going to be expected to do their sophomore year, because they had to pass it by the time they couldn't graduate without the high school exit exam. I don't know if you remember those times.
Yeah.
Okay. So at Orosi High School, the approach was different, okay? And they were trying to do the best job they could. But the approach was, you know what? You have a math class. I'm going to give you a support class. So now you don't take your elective. You're going to get a support class.
And you lose the elective.
You have the ELA. You have your ELA class. Well, now you get a support class. And by the way, you don't have your elective. So at the end of the day, all the electives, the hook of learning for teenage kids went on the wayside. So what do you think the kids did?
It became disengaged.
They were disengaged, absolutely. And the result was very, very low CST scores and passing rate and such. And so it was a different approach that probably needed to be rethought.
And that's
right.
when you came in, that's what you identified.
And I'm not going to, I think by that time, the high school exit exam was going on the wayside, and Common Core. So it was a renaissance, a revival opportunity. So I was pretty lucky I came in a time where we could come in and completely wipe everything off and do things better. Right?
Yeah.
Having people like Tanya Gusev as principal of Orosi High School, who had a very progressive mind.
Who is your
was
current
very-
principal for Orosi High right now?
Currently, we have our principals on leave.
Oh, okay.
So we're in the process of retaining a high school principal.
Oh, okay.
Lisa Castillo's the acting principal.
Oh, all right. Lisa, back in there.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share this. When you talk about, I'll use sports analogy for this. When you have a coach who has a lot of success, you always find that their assistant coaches go off and become successful head coaches elsewhere. They grow, right? And as much as I'm not a Patriots fan, there's an argument that Bill Belichick had a pretty strong staff and that a lot of those guys went on to experience success. Bill Walsh with the 49ers did the same thing, right? With you were at Dinuba High. You brought in your dream team. Let's go through each one and where they're at now.
I think every one of them is where they want to be, right? Well, my athletic director, Martin Tovar, is retired.
Oh,
and
he's
by the
retired.
way, he worked into his 70s.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Manny Lucero retired when we left. Victor Martinez works as an administrator in Central Unified.
Okay.
And Lisa Castillo is a college and career director within my district.
And Orosi principal right now.
Cutler-Orosi.
Acting.
Well, Cutler-Orosi. No, she's still the director of college and career.
So-
But what do you do when there's medical situations that you just, what do you do? You're there. Remember your why. Your why is the students and staff and making sure they're supported. So all of us have been there, right?
Yeah.
As a superintendent, I conducted 10 probationary teacher evaluations this year because you don't want to put more work on the assistant principals who already are doing a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
Because the principal's not there. So no, we actually, as a district level administrative team, we came in and we supported the school because it was an uncommon situation. And so we wanted to make sure that our students didn't skip a beat. And listening to our kiddos 2 days ago, they didn't skip a beat. They
That's
did not
good
skip
to
a beat.
hear, with
And
so
we're
much
looking
change.
forward to the CASP results this year, and we're very optimistic. And
I can't wait to see.
I think that we had a great year. We absolutely had a great year.
Despite everything that happened.
Despite everything, because what do you do when as an administrator you get lemons? You make lemonade. That's what you do. You
That's
cannot
going on the wall.
You cannot. You get lemonade. You just make lemonade no matter what happens. Because great organizations adjust.
Yeah, I like that. Just like great teams adjust at halftime, right?
Yep.
So we have this wall that Jim's been talking about. He's like, hey, whenever somebody says something that's really profound or just insightful, or we call them gems,
Or
we want to build the wall and
bumper
put them
stickers.
bumper stickers.
Yeah.
I think
So-
that's a great idea.
Right.
And we've
I'm seeing this. I'm seeing a financial gain there.
and there's so many, we just haven't built the wall yet. We got
Right, but hey, at least we have the videos
we
to
have
go
the
back.
videos, we go back and
That's
listen
So
to
the
right.
lemonade
that's
one,
right.
we're gonna
Yep.
take that one.
There you go.
Okay, so with all that you've accomplished, what's next for you?
Well, I have to tell you, my husband and I have planned out. We've always been very forward thinking. I don't.
Yeah.
Do you know the mantra at Dinuba High School while I was there?
No, what was it?
Begin with the end in mind.
Begin with the end in mind.
And so it really all our lives. That's exactly what I did personally I didn't know that's what I was doing as a kid,
Yeah.
right? And in our marriage life is begin with the end in mind, right? We always wanted to be able to choose at 55 whether we wanted to keep working or not. And I've exceeded that mark. And every day when I get up in the morning about, how do I feel about going to work? And I'm still just as excited and enthusiastic as I ever was. And so I've since given myself a hard stop because I want to pursue other things. And I'm going to tell you right now what I think I want to do. But
I think I know some of this.
some
Should
of
I
this.
guess?
But my husband retired 3 years ago. So he did. But I did not.
I'm gonna try. Can I?
Let
Can
me
I try
see.
again?
Tell me.
Well, you have all of this knowledge, right? That you've now used and you've had success. You have a track record, and you have a love of education and educators and service. Why not take all of these lessons that you've learned and pass them on so that other populations and leaders can benefit from them? And typically that happens in one or two ways. You're writing the book, or you're public speaking, or you're consulting.
So I want to do all three.
Yes, I got it.
I want to do
Ooh,
all
I'm good.
three. I have an outline of this book, and I have to tell you, I have I really should have done it a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that all the stars are lining up. I'd like to do that. I'd like to pay it forward. I
Exactly.
share with my board because I think for so long in all these years, I really didn't attend very many conferences or was out of my district. And I shared with my board president, I said, Sandy, I feel like I need to pay it forward now. I said, I see what it is of our profession, and I see all these young ones, and they need to know that they need to be courageous to be the voice of students. They need to be courageous in doing that important work and asking those important questions. And so if I can help and assist with any of that, that just brings me great joy.
It brings me
I
great
do
joy
that.
you're doing this.
New superintendents, they know they can reach out. I have a couple that we are regulars, but I'm looking forward to this next chapter, and I think the stars will be lining up, and we'll know where it goes.
We're going to see a lot
But I'm
more
not
of you.
going to have any stress about it because I want to go into this next chapter very organically, right?
Yeah.
I was very driven all my career, very calculated, very focused, and I was going after it, right? And so I think I want this next chapter to be the opposite of that, but really just seeking joy, anything that brings me joy and happiness.
Man, get to choose. That's beautiful. That's inspiring
Being
for me.
able to control my calendar is at the top of that list.
Am I going in today? Am I not? Yeah, no, you sound a lot like Berlita, because you know how you always tell me, hey, don't force it. I mean, Jim, literally today, was it today or yesterday? I was like, man, we got some bangers. We got some amazing episodes, and nobody's watching. She's like, hey, what did you say? I said, be patient. Give it time. Let it come, because there's something about the universe that I think is sort of like, it almost feels when you're trying to force something as opposed to naturally taking your path. And whenever you try to fight that, it just makes things harder and more frustrating for you.
Yeah, you never heard the phrase "good things come to those who wait." You
Yeah,
just got to be patient.
I'm those who force it suffer. That's who I am. I'm always forcing it. I'm going to be a star, and you're going to like me, right?
Well, you already are a star, Rob.
Am I? Oh my! We need a
I think
pause.
so many people. know
Yolanda
you.
Valdez has given me the stamp.
And I go back. Yolanda, we're posting some of these episodes to Spotify.
Yeah.
And so I'm taking the audio off of these shows and we're uploading them into Spotify so we can have multiple
Streams.
and
There
stuff.
you go.
And I look back. I'm a visual critic, so I critique myself all the time. He gets mad that I don't really critique him too much, but I critique my own stuff. But a big thing is how much we've evolved just by our friendship connections, him starting this podcast, and how we've evolved to where we are. I mean, would you have ever had a guest like this?
Heck no.
2 years ago?
No.
No. So, and we've had some people come out and tell us some very deep thoughts and some inner secrets, to where it's like we're almost like therapy.
Well, she might know. Jesse Mendez.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Jesse was sitting on that was it this couch? It was this couch.
It was this couch.
Very couch, and it's already. I mean,
It's already out.
It's
Yeah.
out there, so it's not like we're not divulging.
I'm
new
going to go back
information.
and listen to every one of these.
Right?
So Eddie, Jesse was sitting there, and all of a sudden he got really serious, and he started talking about this time when his grandmother passed, and he went back to his apartment. He got his gun, and the gun did not go off.
Oh my gosh.
And so me and Jim are slowly. I look over at Jim. I'm like, he's talking about, and he had never, ever expressed this to anyone. There were family members watching this episode going, I never knew he went through that.
Wow.
And that happened to us 3 or 4 times,
Yeah.
including our very last guest tried to jump over the Golden Gate Bridge, but he couldn't
Wow.
get over the fence. And some lady came in and talked him down.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And they're all not suicidal issues.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Some
it's not.
some of them have just
That's
been
deep,
very
though.
deep. Yeah.
It's deep.
Yeah. So by you telling us what your future retirement ambitions are,
We feel
that's-
we feel privileged.
yeah.
You know, I have to tell you, here is something that I learned from a very wise man. He says, Yolanda, at retirement, you're going to do one of three things. You're either going to stay in the business and be like a consultant and continue and, teach it forward, pay it forward, right?
Yeah.
You're going to totally reinvent yourself and just go out and do something brand new, like Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? Colonel Sanders, that's what he did. He did that in his 60s. Right?
That's right.
Or you're going to do the third thing. You're going to just let life come to you and you're just going to roll with it. You're just going to roll with it, right? I have to tell you, I have a true passion for number one. I want to do it. My husband and I have dabbled in, and I shouldn't say dabbled because we are way in real estate.
Oh, okay.
And we've done quite well. And so part of me wants to just like go for it.
Crush it.
Like go out there and build, 40 apartments. Go out there and get a huge loan and just do it. Because if we've been able to do what we've done on the side,
With the full time.
what would happen, right?
Yeah.
So, that's in the back of my mind there, that whole reinventing and doing something completely different. Because it excites me. Business excites me, right? But I'm struggling. I'm having this little challenge here because I'm so passionate about improving conditions for our children
Yeah.
and our children of color.
Could you marry the two?
I don't know.
Like create better housing?
Well, that's kind of what we have property in our surrounding areas, and that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Bring some quality of life.
And so the beauty of that is learning all the funding streams that are out there for that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of opportunity. So anyway, I don't know. We'll see. I still have a little bit of time, but I'm already working, because you begin with the end in mind, right?
Yeah.
So I've already been working on meeting with people, getting to know people, and kind of trying to figure that piece out, just so that when I get to a point where I'm going to go all the way, and I don't know, maybe both can happen simultaneously.
That's what
don't
I
know.
see for you. Wow.
Anyway,
Well,
this
to
is
be
exciting
continued.
times. I know that I'm not going to go off into the sunset. I'm not going to do number 3. I don't think one thing that I'm afraid of in retirement
Yeah.
is being bored.
Oh, I don't see that for you at all.
Yeah.
I don't
So
see-
that would be my fright.
Don't be worried about
Yeah.
that. I don't think you would let yourself get to that point because you'd just be so into the next project.
I think what I've experienced just by meeting you is you're very confident in anything you want to put your mind to. And that really says a lot about somebody getting into something. Because if you're kind of hesitant, you're really scared, you're really not sure, you got to either jump in all the way to try to figure it out if you like it. But if you're not confident enough about it, then, some people fail right away and not really sure. But you're
Where does that come
a
from?
go-getter.
It's the way you think about things. Like I have this way of thinking, like, what is the worst thing that can happen? I always look at every challenge, like every business opportunity or even a calculated decision in my district. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And if I can live and mitigate the worst thing that can happen, then I'm gonna go for it. Because if where there's no strain, there's no gain.
There's another
There's
one.
another one. Yep. Yep. We got to put all these on our wall.
Oh, yeah.
So
No
anyway,
strain, no gain.
Yeah,
That's a shirt.
So
Yep, that's a shirt.
so that's
That's
I would say that's kind of the way I've lived my life.
We're going to leave it right there on that note. Thank you for this. Thank you for sharing so much.
Thank you.
I am
Thank
so-
you. I'm honored to
This was awesome.
be on
Yes,
this
it
podcast.
was. Thank you. So, hey, listeners, we're bringing it, man. We're bringing it. You guys need to like and subscribe and support what we're doing because it's just going to help us bring more to you. For those who don't know our why is to reach out to people who will share their journey so that in the end, it inspires you, our audience. We want to keep you in mind. We want to keep growing as a channel. So make sure you like and subscribe. If you love what we do, please share it with your family and friends and coworkers, your aunts, your uncles, your mamas, your daddies, everybody. Okay? Until next time, this is Rob, along with Yolanda Valdez and Jim Chance.
Yo.
Pearl in the house. We want to say how we always say at the end, it's love, peace, and chicken grease. We out.